of data flows is very high. That means more amount of data is going to flow between the client and the server. Basically, we follow a TCP as a underlying transport layer protocol. Okay, that is the first concept. You have to be very clear on top of it. Okay, so now on top of this basic concept of HTTP, so let's go for discussing whenever a communication is going on top of HTTP, we have to understood how so this communication happens. So what basically you have to do? So as far as HTTP is concerned, so there is a HTTP client, there is a HTTP server. So first of all, client is going to send a request. Client is going to send a request and the server is going to send the response. So normally client is sending a request message to the server for downloading a web page and server is sending a response message. So that is actual web page. So then we are getting the web page. So that means a request response message has to be exchanged between the client and server to make this communication possible. So let's try to understood. So what is the message format as far as HTTP is concerned to make this communication possible? So there are two types of messages basically. One is a request message, other one is a response message to make this communication possible. Now first look into what is the detail of a message format as far as request is concerned. Okay, look into this format. So because I have already told you every protocol so is using some additional information to make a communication possible. That we basically call as a header. So every time if you remember, so the encapsulation, decapsulation that we discuss, every time your packet goes down the layer, so certain headers is going to be added, certain extra information is going to be added. So to make this communication possible. Similarly, HTTP protocol also adds some headers on top of the data so as to make this communication possible. Let's try to understand what are the headers added on top of a request message to make our communication possible. First is method, very important. You have to understood. So the first parameter or the first attribute or the first field in the request is a method. Okay, so that is called as a request line. This complete line is called as a request line. Okay, what is a method? There are different types of method. Look into the different types of methods available. So these are the different types of methods available. The first method is known as get. Very important. Get method. That means whenever you are requesting a particular web page to be downloaded, this method internally goes behind the scene. Okay, now you could able to see this by capturing where circ. I will give a so activity on top of it. Okay, so you can go and capture the web communication and see the first request going from your end is the get method. So that's why the method get facilitates to request for a web object. Okay, web page. So then another header is head. Basically this head method is facilitating so to debugging purpose. That means whenever so you are going to see a web page, somebody has developed that na. So behind the scene somebody has developed that web page, that's why you are seeing. So whenever somebody is developing a web page, he might encounter certain problem. So during the development process, if we want to debug what is going wrong during the development process, this particular method going to be helpful for him. That means this head method is basically used by the developer, not by yours, not by a user. Okay, so that's why it is basically used by a developer for the purpose of debugging. Okay, so then put method, another important method is a put method. Put method basically facilitates to upload, and that is used by the server. Get method is used by the client to download, so to send a request to download a particular object. So whenever you are requesting to download, what the server is doing, server is uploading the particular page or the object on behalf of you. So using this put method, so the server is uploading the page on top of you, on top of your request. So put method facilitates to upload one object into the network. So now post method. So next method is a post method. Post method is very much similar to the put method, but the difference is that so whenever you are going to use the put method, what happens if let's say previously one object exists with the same name, now you go and put that object once again to the server. So what is going to happen, the previous object will be it will be overwritten over the new object. That means the previous object will go and the new object will remain. That is what put method does. But whenever you want, let's say I want to keep the previous object, on top of that I want to append something, add something. So this post method is going to help me. That means on top of an existing object, if the server wants to add some additional information, so instead of using a put method, so he can go and use this particular post method where so information is going to be appended into an existing object. Okay. Then next method is a delete method. Delete method basically removes an object. Let's say server does not want this object to be anymore inside its server, so he do not want to provide this particular object, so that's why he can go and delete this particular object. Okay. Trace is another method where basically that is again helpful for the developer, it is not for the user. So that is also, I mean basically whenever a client is sending a request, if the developer at the server end wants to know what is the message coming right now, so from the client he can use this trace message which is echoing back, so it is going to show him what is the incoming request. That is the trace method. Okay. So next method is the connect method. Connect method basically provides you a secure connection when we are dealing with a proxy server. We'll just after this we'll talk about what is a proxy server. At that point of time we can able to understand this connect method. But basically connect method is going to provide you a secure connection with the proxy server. Okay. Now options. Basically, this is a query. So if I want to know a object properties, what are the properties associated with the object? What type of object it is? Okay. So for how much time this object will be valid? So this type of query if I want to do, so this option field is going to help me to query regarding a particular object. Okay. So then the patch method. Patch method, I think everybody is used to, but maybe you are not knowing that behind the scene you are using all. So partial modification on top of the existing application, instead of reinstalling that application, you can apply a patch to it to fix the issue. So that is the same thing. So if at the server end, they find some issues, so they can apply a patch command to fix that issue, so with the existing installation. Okay. So these are the various methods that is available at the HTTP request method. Okay. So that is what is the method. So one of the method has to be specified here to get your job done. So if I want to send a request, what should be my method here? If I want to send a request to the server to download, okay. So then SP stands for space. Okay. So that means method and URL must be segregated, differentiated with a space. So method space, then URL. URL is the uniform resource locator. That means you have to specify the URL which you want to download. So that's why here it is the URL. So what is being downloaded, what is to be downloaded, so from the server end. So then again a space, then the version. We have already discussed about two versions, HTTP 1.0 and HTTP 1.1. Okay. There is also HTTP 2.0 version. So now is being already available. And HTTP 3.0 is also available, but it is not, I think, used by every user, every browser till now. Okay. So this version has to be specified which version you are currently using, for this particular request. So here, as far as this example is concerned, the version is HTTP 1.1. Okay. So then CRLF. CR stands for carriage return. It means let's say my cursor is at this point. If I go and give a line feed, so my cursor will just come to the next line below it. Okay. That means my cursor will come from here to the next line. But if I want to bring the cursor to the beginning of the next line, then CR is going to help me. That means CR is going to bring the cursor back to the beginning of it. LF is going to take my cursor to the next line. So that's why combiningly when I press enter at this point of time, so my cursor should be here. So that's why CRLF is combiningly going to do the task for us. So CRLF is nothing but carriage return and new line feed. Okay. That is the next line. So in the next line, it will give a bunch of header fields with their value. Okay. So these are some of the examples of the header fields. Okay. One header field name is host. What is the host name of the server? So this is the header field name. This is the value. Okay. This is the header field name is host, and so then the value is this www.csc.itb.ac.in. So that's why So these are different headers. Okay, another important header is user agent. User agent is Mozilla 5.0. That means you have to tell whenever you are sending a request behind the scene, so whatever browser you are using, so that information is going to send to the what? Server. So through a user agent header field. Okay, internally it is going without your knowledge. Okay, then the connection. Connection is another important concept that is going. Connection is closed. If the connection value is closed, that does mean that, so for downloading every object, it has to create a new connection. So if that is the case, what type of, communication it is, persistent or non-persistent? Communication the client wants to do with the server is a non-persistent communication. Understood? Okay. So then accept language. Accept language is the language, so using which you want to download your request. Here the accept language is FR. So let's say French. So here we are using English. So accept language is going to be English. Okay. So that's why accept language is the language through which you want to send the request and get the response, so from the server. Okay. And then, so then look into here, after all the header files is over, so then another, so new line will be there. That means that is a blank line. Okay. So after the blank line, the body will start. The actual message will start here. Okay. Body is empty here. As far as a get request method is concerned, there is no body. So that's why, so this is the, so format of a get method to, so normally download a web page from request. What the server is going to do? Server is going to upload a particular object for you. Okay. And that how it is going to happen? So through a response message. So that means server is going to send back you a response message. As a client, you are sending a, so request message, server is going to send you back a response message on top of it. Okay. So now let's look into how this response message looks like. The first field is the version. Let's say, for example, you have requested HTTP 1.1, but the server may not support HTTP 1.1. It only supports HTTP 1.0. In that case, so it could not able to serve your request. Okay. So that's why, so in the response message, the server is going to tell what version is being currently used by the server. So it is specified here HTTP 1.1. Then space, then the status code. The status code is very important. Let's look into some of the status code which is very important. So some of the sample status codes. The first status code is 200. Very important. Every time we are getting this. So 200 means okay. Okay means whatever request you have sent from the client, that is so successfully solved by the server. So that means your request is successfully so solved. So that is 200. That means in the status code, server is going to send you back a status code of value of 200. That means you got your response. Server has generated a response on behalf of your request successfully. Then sometimes it might happen, so whatever object you want to download, so whatever path you have specified, that path so is no more available. That object is no more available in that path, rather so it has been moved to a different path. Might happen. Okay. So in that case, if you are requesting a particular object to be downloaded, server is going to respond you back with a status code of 301. That means that object has been moved permanently. And along with that, also it is going to tell you what is the new location of this object, where from you can go and fetch this particular object. Okay. So that is the status code 301. So then another status code, it might happen. So 400. 400 means bad request. Bad request means, let's say, so the client so is using a message. So there is a certain format as far as the HTTP request message is concerned. So whenever you are sending a data, okay, so you have to follow that format. But if you do not follow that format, you have so made some modification of your own on that format and send a request. So then whenever server is going to so receive that message, he could not able to understand what you are saying. So that's why he is going to send you a so response code of 400. That is a bad request. That means the syntax of the message that you have sent is not in the correct format. So the server is not understanding that format. So he is going to respond back with a so 400. That is a bad request. Okay. Then another one is 404. 404 means not found. That means whatever object you have requested, so that is not at all available at this moment at the server end. Sometimes it may happen. So that's a it is going to respond back with a 404. 503 service unavailable. Service is unavailable means, so whenever you are sending a request, the server is completely loaded. He cannot able to serve you. So that's why in that case, so it is going to respond you back with a, so 503, so status code, that is service unavailable. So then 505 means just see abhi jaise bola. So now let's say you have requested so to download a web page by using a version HTTP 1.1, but the server does not support HTTP 1.1, it supports only HTTP 1.0. In that case, it is going to return you back a response message with a status code of 505, that is HTTP version not supported by the server. Okay, so these are some of the status code that the server is going to reply you back. And in this case, assuming our request has been successfully responded, so it is giving you a 200. Okay, so it is going to tell you what is the status code, what is the phrase. Phrase means what is the meaning of it. So 200 is the status code. What is the meaning of it? It is okay. So that means your request has been responded successfully. So then these are some of the header fields. Okay, you can go through it. Okay, but let me tell one of the most important header field. Okay, content length coming here. So one of the most important header field in this response message is the content length. So content length is 253. What does it mean? It does mean that the body. So because after the headers, body is to follow. What is the body here? Can anybody just think? So that is going to be downloaded by the client. Okay. So the body, whenever server is sending a body, so this content length specifies what is the length of the body, what is the size of this body. This is 253 means the size of the body or the length of the body is 253 bytes. Understood? So that means 253 bytes of information is there in the body of this particular message, that is the object, so which is requested by the client. Okay, so that is the content length. Then content type. Content type means what is there inside the body, whether the body is a image or whether it is a text or HTML, so or whether it is a video, audio, so whatever is the content type, so that is going to be specified so here in the content type. So these are two important information we have to understood. Other information you can also, if you want, you can go and dig into. So if you want to know the details of each and every header fields that is available here or more headers, so that is available. So every time you can go and refer a document that is called RFC. Everybody please write RFC. So for every protocol there is a standard document available in the internet that is called RFC. If you type in the browser RFC HTTP, RFC for HTTP, okay, so it is going to show you the official document for HTTP protocol. So here every details regarding the HTTP protocol is available. That is official. Okay, so if you want, tell me what is stateless means. What do you mean by stateless? When I say HTTP protocol is stateless in nature, what do you mean by that? Stateless means so the server does not remember the history or the previous access by the client or previous transaction made by the client. That is what is stateless. That means server does not remember about the client informations. That is what is called stateless. But if I look into the real web communication, if I talk about Flipkart, but actually if I look into right now, so it looks like it is stateful. So that's why we need to have some concept which makes this stateless to stateful. That means initially when the HTTP protocol was designed, it is stateless in nature. So by looking into the current requirement, it has to behave as a stateful. So that's why there are some concept used to make it stateful. So that is called as a cookies. Anybody has heard about this term cookies.com? Okay, you type www.flipkart.com. Okay, so whenever you type this www.flipkart.com, HTTP request message is going to Flipkart server. HTTP request message is going to the Flipkart server. That is a request message. Okay, so when the request message is coming from any client to a server, first of all, it will look into the server, checks whether this client is a first time user or it is already previously using my service. Okay, if he is a first time user accessing this particular website or the server, so what the server is going to do, server is going to create a cookie ID. So it's going to create a cookie ID. Okay, that is a unique ID for that particular client by that particular server. Okay, it's going to create a cookie ID at its end. Let's say, for example, the cookie ID he has created on behalf of me. So that is flipkart.com client. So that is, let's say, 1500. So he's going to uniquely create a cookie ID for the first time if the user is accessing the server and maintaining this information in its own database. He's maintaining a database where he's maintaining this cookie ID and the transaction made by this particular user. Okay, this cookie ID is entering inside it, and the information regarding that user he is maintaining in its own database. Okay, and so whenever he is sending response, because you have sent a request to flipkart.com, so then he is going to send you back a response message. That is the object that you have requested to download. He has gone and sent in a response message. Whenever he has sent this response message, he is going to set a header field that is called set cookie. And so this value of cookie ID, what he has created at your end, so it is going to put here. That means he is going to respond you. So the object along with a header field, so that is called set cookie with the value of the cookie that he has created for you at his own end. Okay, so whenever you got this information, it is up to you. Sometimes, so whenever you start a particular, website, access a particular website for the first time. So whenever you see the object, so a message has come to you. Do you want to save the cookie? Or yes or no? Have you ever encountered this? So do you want to save the cookie? If you click on yes, so whenever the response will come, the set cookie, so value field will come with a value. So it is going to ask you, do you want to save this cookie? So if you say yes, so then this information is stored in a cookie file. That means every client maintains a cookie file. Cookie file. That is a text file. Every client maintains a text file that is called a cookie file. Inside this text file, he maintains the information. So regarding this cookie ID and the server. So let's say Flipkart name is the server. Flipkart.com and the cookie ID is 1500. Okay. So he's going to maintain this cookie file at his own end if we say yes. If he do not want to save the cookie, this information is not going to set at the client end. So that's why it is up to you. It is up to the client whether he wants to save the cookie or not. If he saves this cookie, so then the cookie information is saved inside a text file at the client end. So then next time onwards, so let's say again, I want to send a request to same flipkart.com from my user. Okay. So I send another request. Whenever the next time the request is sent, so without your knowledge, if you have saved the cookie, so this cookie information is going to send along with this. So that is in a header field called cookie. In another header field called cookie, this cookie information is internally going along with your request. So for the first time, it has not gone because no cookie ID has created by the server for you. But the second time, as you have already saved it, whenever you are sending a request to the same server, so this particular the cookie ID has been fetched from your cookie file and sent along with this request message. So whenever the server is getting this information, whenever the server is, just a minute. Have I done the recording? Okay. So when the server is, getting this request message from you, so he is going to search his own database whether this cookie ID, whether an entry for the cookie ID is available in the database or not. So as it is already available, so now through this cookie ID, it is going to fetch your previous history, your previous transaction you have done with this particular client. Okay. So based on that, he is going to respond you back. He is going to send a response. That means whatever object you have requested, so it is going to send you back a response message along with certain advertisements based on your buying history. Okay. So that means if you open flipkart.com in your browser, somebody else is opening flipkart.com at its own browser. So whatever advertisements you are getting at your end may be different from the other user advertisements that he is getting at its own end. So how it is possible? So this is only possible because of this cookie information. So the cookies, so the server looks into the cookie. So that is what are the buying history. so this particular client is interested in which type of, so products, buying which type of products. So that's why on top of that response message, he is going to put some advertisements on top of that particular web page, so that you may be more interested in buying his product. So that is how a cookie is being maintained by this particular server and client, so as to make this communication is stateful. That means now it becomes stateful. Now the Flipkart server behaves as a stateful server, but originally it was a stateless server. Okay, so that's why by using the concept of cookies, so now I convert the stateless behavior of the HTTP to as a stateful behavior of HTTP. Is it understood, cookies? Or anybody has any doubt, please? So by using cookies, how it is possible to change this behavior of HTTP from stateless to stateful. But originally, if somebody will ask you whether HTTP is stateful or stateless, you have to say that it is stateless. So Flipkart.com तो बोलेगा आपको cookie save करने के लिए first time. But sometimes it might happen, you will be seeing some advertisement on top of Flipkart.com web page, whatever you have currently downloaded. And that web page is some different web page, not Flipkart.com. So whenever you click on that web page, it is going to ask you to save the cookies. That type of cookie is called as a third party cookie. Okay, so that is referred as a third party cookie. Third party cookie. Okay, that means this is the cookie not to be maintained by Flipkart. This is the cookie whenever you click on that particular advertisement, which is meant for some other servers, that other server is going to get your information and maintain your information. If you want to do that, that kind of cookie is basically called as a third party cookie to be saved by the server, because you are accessing Flipkart, but somebody else is saving your information. So that is a third party cookie. Understood? So there are other different types of cookies also. You can have a look into it behind the scene. So one is called as a session cookie. Another one is called as a permanent cookie. Permanent cookie. Okay, there are two other types of cookies. Also there are other types of cookies, but most importantly, we have to understood session cookie, permanent cookie, and third cookie. Session cookie is a temporary. It's a temporary cookie. Temporary. This is only remain till your browser is on. The moment you make the browser off, so this cookie will go. Okay. So permanent is even if you close your browser, that cookie information will be stored by the client. Okay. So that is otherwise called as a browser cookie. Session cookie otherwise called as a browser cookie. So it is saved in the browser. The moment you close the browser, so that information will go away. Okay. So you can, if you want to go more about it, you can go and search the internet, and if you have any doubts, you can come back to me. Okay. Now going ahead. So whenever you are accessing a web page, we are always sending the request to the server, and server is going to respond you back to the client. So that means if this is the case, if it is a client, okay, every time you are going to send a request, it has to go through number of maybe devices, then finally it has to go to the server. Okay, that means this device may be connected to the server via a lot of intermediate nodes and to get the service. So can you find out a way and tell me, if I want to reduce the response time, response time को मैं reduce करना चाहता हूँ, so can any solution be provided by you people? I want to go and download a web page. Okay, so I want to reduce my response time. You already know what is the response time. Okay, you made the request, you got the object. So whatever time difference is there, so that is the response time. So can anybody just think of or tell me, so in what way I can go and reduce my response time for downloading an object? I'm giving a hint to you. Think of DNS server. Yes, yes. Think of a DNS server.
No, sir, I'm talking about algorithm.
Sorry.
route करेंगे तो.
Sorry.
The shortest path route करेंगे तो.
Always whenever you send a packet, it is the responsibility of the router to find out the shortest path. You don't have to bother about it. So that is the job of the router. Router job is to find the shortest path. That is the best path for routing your packet to the final destination. You don't have to, always that happens in the internet. You don't have to bother about it. But still I want to so reduce the response. On top of it, again I want to reduce the response time on top of it. Is there any solution? Think of the DNS. I mean laptop. It is stored in a server called local DNS server. Yes or no? Similarly, in case of so HTTP, there is a concept of, that means if this is my client, okay, and this is my server, a final server. This is the actual server. So we'll introduce one more server. So that is called as a proxy server. Okay. So in between these, we'll introduce a proxy server. And whenever I go and send a request from my machine, first of all, it will go to the proxy server. And the proxy server is basically configured in the same network where my machine is available. Okay, it is basically like a local DNS server. Local DNS server always kept inside the same local network. Similarly, this proxy server has to keep inside the same local network where this machine is available. So that's why whenever you are sending a request, so you are going to send the request pass to the proxy server. So proxy server is going to check its cache. Okay, it's going to maintain a cache just like local DNS. Think of proxy server is going to so check its own cache. So first of all, it is going to search the object so that you have requested is available in the cache or not. If it is not available in the cache, so then it is going to send back so your request to the server, original server. If it is available in the cache, then it is going to respond you back with the object. So in that way, I can make my response time less. I can reduce my response time by using the or introducing a proxy server concept. The proxy server, why the name is proxy? Because it is not the actual server, but it is so taking care of the job of the server. So that's why it is acting as a proxy server. The proxy server must be so normally located in the local network, that is where my device is available. Otherwise, if it is again available in the internet, so again it is not going to help me. Okay, so that's why it must be available in the local network where my device is connected. Okay, so that's why so whenever my request is going to go, it is going to go to the proxy server first, then proxy server is going to return me back the so information. If it is stored, if it is not stored, then my request is going to the actual server or original server. Then when the original server responding back, he is going to respond back to the proxy server. Then proxy server is going to maintain this so information at its own cache, and then that information is going to again send back to the original. That means just like think of the DNS server we discussed, the local DNS job. So this is the job of a local DNS, what the proxy server is going to carry out. Okay, so if I look into the advantage of so doing this, what is the advantage? Can anybody tell me what is the advantage of having installed this proxy server? First advantage is what? अभी बोले
response time कम हो जाएगा बहुत.
Reduce response time. The first advantage I am going to get, reduce the response time. Any other advantage? Can anybody just think of what other advantage I am going to get out of it?
सर्वर पे ट्रैफिक कम हो जाएगा.
Very good. So सर्वर में ट्रैफिक कम हो जाएगा. सर्वर में ट्रैफिक कम हो जाएगा मतलब क्या है? So reduces the load at the server. Reduces the load at server. Very good. If the load at the server is reduced, that means I am not going to use the internet. अरे अगर मेरा रिक्वेस्ट वही प्रॉक्सी सर्वर से आ जाएगा, मेरा लोकल नेटवर्क से आ जाएगा, मुझे इंटरनेट यूज करने का जरूरत है क्या? नहीं है. So that's why it so saves bandwidth, because whenever you are doing a communication in the internet, it is consuming certain bandwidth. Okay, so that bandwidth is no more going to be so consumed, rather it is available for somebody else to use. So that's why it saves bandwidth as far as communication is concerned, because I'm not going to use the internet. So this is my internet part. Okay, this is my local part. This is my local area, local network part. This is the internet part. I'm not going to use the internet because my object is available in the local area network. So that's why so thereby saving the bandwidth. Okay, so these are some of the advantages I'm going to get if I'm introducing the cache. Can anybody just think of what is the disadvantage? Can anybody just think of some cost has to be involved. But again, there is a trade-off between the cost and fast. Okay, so whether you want faster access or you want to make your communication cheaper, so then that is also again a trade-off. Okay, cost will be a bit more. Okay, more cost. Okay, so anybody else, anything else? Most importantly, ye to ek additional. So nowadays, so the computer cost or is not so much. So this is the point I'm looking for. So that means, let's say you are currently, you have already downloaded an object. Okay, previously at time t you have downloaded the object O1 and that is already stored in your cache. But at time t1 the server has modified this object O1. He has modified. So now after time, at another point of time t1, that object O1 which you have already stored in the cache has been modified at the server end. So as you have already maintained it at the cache, so you are not going to get this modified information when somebody is requesting. Yes or no? That means that problem is referred as a stale cache problem. Stale cache problem. This problem is referred as a stale cache problem. That means, so that cache may be outdated. The information that is maintained at the cache may be outdated, not an updated information. Okay, that may be a problem as far as so this maintaining a proxy server is concerned. So for that sake, in order to get rid of this problem, so what can be the solution? Can anybody just think of what can be the solution for getting rid of this problem? Maintain for certain period of time. It is not maintained indefinitely. So that is, every record, every information is going to maintain the cache, only is maintained for certain period of time. After that, this information is going to be flushed. This information is going to be taken out of this cache. Okay, so that's why. So if this information O1 is, let's say, maintained for, so the object information for O1 is maintained for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, it is going to flush. And whenever somebody is requesting, so again that information is going to send back to the, so that information is going to fetch from the server. Or there is another feature also, when there is an updation happen at the server end, he must be informing the proxy servers regarding the update so that they can do the update on top of it. So this way we can get rid of this problem. Okay, but the problem that is associated at the proxy server end is a stale cache problem, which may be taken care of by associating a particular time limit for any information maintained at the cache. And also time to time there can be a facility. So when from time to time proxy server can query so to the actual server, is there any updated information regarding a particular object or not, so that he can also update that information at its own end. Understood? Understood everybody? Or anybody has any doubt, please?